Wright Show, where Utah news breaks on KSL News Radio, 102.7 FM and 1160 AM.
Okay, now we need some different music here. Yeah, we got to do something different. Now get rid of that. Yeah, okay, here we go. Okay, over the weekend, how many of you went out to see Rogue One, a Star Wars story? It's not one of the regular episodes. This is kind of one of those, it was described during our remote last week by Cal Gunderson of the Megaplex Theaters. He books all of the screenings for Megaplex. He described it as episode 3.5. Now, the true geeks here in the station have said, no, it's more like 3.9 because it's right before episode 4, the very first Star Wars movie, started. And there's a little goodie at the end that really shows you where this comes to the doorstep. Let's put it that way. So I would be interested to hear from you. For those who did see a Star Wars story, Rogue One, over the weekend, I'd be interested in your reviews with no spoilers. We'll just kind of keep it at how many stars would you give it out of 4, and also just kind of what was your favorite thing, or did you have a concern? But again, keep it real general. I don't want in any way, shape, or form anything that we might say on the program to be a spoiler on this. We were very, very careful. And what's interesting, very careful last week when we actually did the reviews. Now, I'll tell you, this movie overall did very, very well. Now, compared to the last Star Wars movie, the Star Wars The Force Awakens, I mean, holy smoke. I mean, it was just killing it with the domestic numbers of $248 million. This movie opened with about $100 million less, but wow. When you look at a $155 million opening in North America, and you look at $290.5 million globally, making it the top movie around the world, this was nothing to sneeze at. It exceeded Disney's expectations by quite a bit. They thought, well, we're going to be between 120, maybe on the outside 150. No, it was 155 million, and that ain't bad. And we have joining us right now, when we did our remote broadcast from Jordan Commons last week, I mentioned that we'd be making a phone call to Blake Anderson, and he is the head of the Megaplex Theaters, to kind of see how our local numbers were. And boy, Blake, on the national and on the North America and the international number chart, this thing killed it over the weekend.
Yes, Doug, it's just been off the charts, and I'm happy to report that Megaplex Theaters at Jordan Commons led the nation. We are number 1 in the nation, busiest theater in the nation, and we're so grateful to our fans, our Star Wars fans, and the fun that we had this weekend. It was a lot of fun.
You mentioned the fun this weekend. Our company, we had 3 screens over at the Megaplex Gateway Theaters, and I saw it for a second time on Saturday afternoon at 2 o'clock, and it was so much fun. And I have to tell you, too, Blake, when I watched the first one, I have to admit that a lot of the locations and a lot of the names and all these new characters and everything almost overwhelmed me. Seeing it a second time, I actually enjoyed it, I think, more, and it clarified a bunch of stuff. And then to see it with my friends and colleagues from KSL, and we brought along some family members as well, and it was really, we just had a great time.
It is fun. I've been able to talk to a lot of our fans, and as I visited theaters and heard them discussing the movie, I think everyone is really pleasantly surprised that this movie is as good as it is. It is really, really good. And we found that over the weekend, like yourself, many were coming back second and third times.
Now, I know you had all kinds of fun things going on, little cameo appearances by R2-D2 and others were just kind of frequenting. When we had the movie on Saturday afternoon, we had Santa Claus there. We had Darth Vader there. We had Stormtrooper there. I mean, we had this thing nailed.
Well, that's just it. Everywhere I went, and I tried to hit as many of our theaters as I could here on the Wasatch Front over the weekend, and just visiting and having fun with the fans. but Darth Vader's would show up and stormtroopers, unsolicited and in really, really good costumes. And, we have our security checks and all that, so we were all good there. But I was amazed at Jordan Commons on Saturday night. A group called us, and they wanted to do a Star Wars flash mob, just kind of a battle here in the lobby. And we got to go ahead and approved all of their costumes and scenery and what have you. And it was so much fun. It looked like a scene right out of the movie.
I'm sure you're still counting the numbers and you're still, sitting there trying to figure everything out. But how did the other theaters do as well? Normally the district kills it and everything else.
Yeah, District was number 4 in the nation. We had 4 of the megaplexes placed in the top 20. So we felt really good. I mean, our fans were turning up everywhere, and this is by far, second biggest opening in December ever, just behind the last year's Star Wars. And as you said earlier in your broadcast, that people, including the studios, were not expecting this one to do what it's doing, and people are pleasantly surprised at how good it is.
Boy, 155 million, and then the international numbers to be as high, 290, almost 291. And by the way, I understand that didn't even include China, the second largest movie market in the world.
Yeah, and you know what it will do over there. So, yeah, this is a home run for Disney, and I think it's a sigh of relief for real Star Wars fans, because people are a little bit nervous going off, the set Star Wars storyline and to do some of these offshoots. But they did such a good job with it, and it does such a incredible job filling in holes and giving you some background details that even the super fans seem to really enjoy it.
I know during our broadcast last Thursday out at Jordan Commons, a lot of us were wondering, will this movie have legs? And that's what makes all the difference. I mean, it's wonderful to have a great opening weekend, and a lot of times that can be a curiosity and anticipation thing, but will you go back and see it again? And I'm here to attest that I enjoyed seeing it for the second time as much or perhaps even more, because things really began to clarify. I began to really kind of relate to who was who and what was what in that movie.
Yeah, right. I think you're right, Doug. The second time you relax a little bit,
yeah,
and you're just able to take it in and start filling in the pieces. That first time, it is just so much stimuli in your face all the time that you're just caught up in it. Second time, you're able to kind of process it a little better.
Blake, do you have any idea at kind of its peak how many screens of how many screens do you guys have now?
Well, we're up to 186 screens. And from our calculations on opening night, it most likely played, and we ran way into the night. We were showing 1 a.m.s, 2 a.m.s, and 6 in the morning shows and all that kind of stuff. But we figure it probably hit somewhere around 140 screens at some point, playing everywhere way late into the night. So
wow.
That's pretty impressive.
That is amazing. And again, to play that many theaters back in the old days would have been almost impossible. You would have had film running up and down every hall backwards and forwards and just praying that nobody, as you mentioned, you actually slammed the door on it once, didn't you?
Yeah, we did. Yeah, I did. When we used to run the film through different places, I walked out of the room and shut the door and then shut everything down. It wasn't very pretty, but
but in the digital world, the possibilities are just endless. And Blake, we had such a great time there last Thursday. I'm glad that this movie is killing it. We all love Star Wars.
I do. I think secretly we're so nervous. We don't want anyone to mess this great franchise up, and I'm so pleased that Disney has done what they're doing with it, and we can look forward to the next one and keep our eyes set down the road, because there's still a great story to tell, and it was so much fun seeing Darth Vader again, wasn't it?
Yeah. Yeah.
In his glory on the screen. It was great.
And then that final scene where you really kind of get the handoff, and wow. Now, the next episode 8, if I'm doing all the math right, when does that come out?
They're looking at a year from now, so we'll see. Now, we have heard from Disney that at some point they may start releasing summer again. But we don't have a confirmation when that will happen. But right now, December's been a good hit for them, so we're planning on a year from now, unless Disney does something and rolls it out in May. But right now, it's for December.
Interesting. Blake, I so appreciate the great relationship we have with the Megaplex Theaters, because we really, truly do in this area, thanks to you guys, have the greatest theaters in the known universe, and the relationship we have on the movie show especially. We appreciate it. I wish you well, and thank you so much. much.
Merry Christmas to you and to all of our fans, and thanks to everyone for supporting Megaplex Theaters.
Hey, Merry Christmas to you as well. Blake Anderson with the Megaplex Theaters here at KSL News Radio, where it is 11:17. Let's go ahead and take a break. We'll come right back. And by the way, in our next segment, we caught something that was kind of interesting today, and it was the things you need to be aware of if you want to. Let's see exactly how it's worded here. Let me grab it. 6 things the doctors want you to know about staying out of the ER this holiday season. So we got a big ho, 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 and who did we turn to? Of course, we turned to Senator and Dr. Brian Shiozawa, who will be joining us, and we'll talk with the good Senator Doctor about avoiding the holiday injuries, and that's coming up next right here on the Doug Wright Show at KSL News Radio. And then the tail end of the program, what do you put other than presents under the Christmas tree?
Doug's breaking news no one else has access to. More updates that affect you and Doug's Take. Coming up on KSL News Radio.